Good evening, viewers. My name is Dr. Jessica Muthe of Esteem Guidance and Psychological Services Center. Today I'll be talking about toxic relationships and mental health. Maybe I start by asking ourselves or by defining the term relationship. Relationship is a way or is an association between two or more persons, the way in which two or more people are connected. And we normally say human beings are social by nature, and they are meant to be to connect with each other for better mental health, physical health, and even psychological health. There are very many types of relationships that exist, but today I'll mention a few. One is family relationships, that is members of the same family. Friendship, that means friends that you have kept or that you make. Romantic relationships, those are relationships between opposite sex. Work relationship, that is where you have colleagues in the place of work, whether it is business or formal jobs. There are relationships that exist among colleagues. And the above relationships that I've mentioned and many others could either be good or toxic. And when does a relationship turn toxic? And maybe what is a toxic relationship first? A toxic relationship is when a relationship becomes venomous, lethal, or bad. And such a relationship has got signs or pointers that will make you know that you are actually living in a bad relationship or in a lethal relationship. Some of the pointers that I would want to raise or bring up for you to actually understand yourself are as follows. The first one is lack of support. If you lack support in a relationship, then you may be living in a toxic relationship, because we know healthy relationships are based on mutual desire to see the other person succeed in all areas or in all angles of their lives. But when it is toxic, everything turns the other way around. That means there is competition between the two that are involved in that relationship. There is no longer a feeling of positivity towards each other. One does not feel supported, no longer encourage each other. The interests of each other or the interests of each member are different. And sometimes the other person may only want their interest fulfilled, not the other person's interest. The second pointer to a toxic relationship is actually what I would call toxic communication. And with the toxic communication, at this point, most of the conversation that come out or that exist between the two people or three people or many people is filled with sarcasm, criticism, and the conversation is also fueled by contempt. If it is a marriage relationship, we can say that that can be a predictor of divorce when the conversation becomes difficult. The third pointer is envy and jealous. The members involved can experience some level of envy from time to time. This keeps the people involved from thinking positively about each other's success, which should be the case for a good relationship or for a healthy relationship. There is constant suspicion and mistrust in such a relationship, and the two elements actually tend to erode a good relationship. The fourth pointer to a toxic relationship is controlling behavior. The partner asks you where you are all the time. That could be a good example of a controlling behavior. They become irritated when you do not immediately pick their calls, answer to their text messages. Regardless of what you are thinking and where you are, whether you could be in an official meeting or not, whether you could be maybe having a conversation with a friend. For them, it doesn't matter. You should pick their text and their calls immediately. And failure to that, it is actually interpreted that you are ignoring them. These behaviors may stem from jealous, a lack of trust in most cases, and they can also suggest the need in the other person to control you. And this is not a good or a healthy relationship when a partner or a friend controls the other person. The fifth one is resentment. That means holding grudges and letting them erode the intimacy that you have. Over time, resentments and frustrations tends to build up in such a relationship. One feels unsafe also. In fact, at some point, they start tiptoeing on what they're about to talk to you as a partner or as a friend. And there is no trust that such a person could listen to your concerns. So it is hurting. The sixth one is dishonesty. You may find yourself making up lies to say where you are, even if you are not there. Who you talked to latest, what it is that you are doing. And therefore, such a relationship starts making you, or the truth in you, to start getting away from your life. And that is not a good relationship. It can only be termed as a toxic relationship. The seventh one are patterns of disrespect are found in such a relationship where the other person is being chronically late, casually forgetting events that the two of you have set up together, and other behaviors that show disrespect for the time of the other partner. For example, you agree, you meet at a particular place, and you are there in time, and the other person forgot about that event, and you had planned together. In itself, it may not show a respect for the other partner. Number 8, negative financial behaviors, especially in cases of those who are married couples, a situation where the partner decides to spend the money without some level of agreement on how it should be spent. The partner consistently disrespects any agreement that has been set by the two of you. Sometimes, for example, withdrawing large amounts of money without the approval of the other person, and it's in a marriage relationship. That would show that the relationship the two of you have is actually toxic. Constant stress is another pointer. Although stress can come due to many causes, but it can be worsened by a toxic relationship between the two partners, where one feels miserable, mentally and physically exhausted, or even generally they become unwell, simply because they are stressed by the other person's behaviors. Number 10, ignoring the needs of the other person is a sign of a toxic relationship. Whatever the partner does may not go with the wishes of the other one or the comfort of the other one, and it's a sure sign of a toxic relationship. For example, forgetting the birthdays of the other person, their relatives, their sisters and brothers, and not taking anything serious about them. And that would be a sign of a toxic relationship. What about when the other person loses all the relationships they had because of you? You stop spending time, they stop spending time with their friends, their family members, and all that is being done so that conflicts cannot arise at home or in a relationship. Worrying, they take all the time worrying about the relationship to a level that they could even be physically ill or psychologically tortured, mentally unhealthy, because all the time they're engaged in worrying about the relationship that the two of you have. The other one is lack of self-care, is also a pointer to a toxic relationship. When one is in a toxic relationship, they may let off their self-care habits. That is one, they look dirty, they look unkempt, simply because they are not comfortable with themselves. They withdraw from the hobbies they once liked. They neglect their health status, and sometimes they sacrifice their free time. And when that happens, one would be also moving towards depression, which is not a good mental health status. Another pointer is hoping for change. Many people are stuck in toxic relationships, hoping that they will change one day, and that they keep changing themselves, hoping the other person will also change. And it is not always the case. It may not always be true that they may change. Maybe a few of them may change, but the majority of them hardly change. And therefore, this kind of relationship where you are stuck in a situation where you are very unhappy, where you are hurt by what the other person is doing, can set you into stress, and then moves you to depression, moves you sometimes to sickness, and can also make you finally die, fight, kill each other. So the earlier you think about going for help when you are stuck in a negative or in a toxic relationship, the better for you. There are very many therapists in this country who are skilled, and they would help you come out of a toxic relationship as long as you go to their offices and schedule a session and tell them your story. Number 14 is walking on eggshell. That means you worry about bringing up problems. If you find yourself worrying about bringing up problems and thinking that these problems, if discussed, they will provoke extreme tension, so you may be said to be conflict avoidant person. And this may not be very good for your physical or mental health. When you avoid conflicts all the time and you bottle up your issues, you are not ready to discuss with anyone, then you could be leading to a mental health problem. And up to there, viewers, for today, I would want to end it there and welcome you to the next video, part 2, where I'll be talking about the effects of toxic relationship on your mental health, physical health, and psychological health. Thank you very much and good evening.